Hi, I'm Ilya, founder of The Presentation Designer, and for the last nearly 14 years, I have been helping speakers and companies across the globe with their presentations to help them present with more clarity and impact. And I'm going to reveal today in this video some presentation advice that you won't hear from anyone else, and that is that public speaking can almost feel very performative, and in a way it is a performance. You're on stage, you're having to project your voice, you're having to connect with an audience, but so much of the advice out there misses the key thing about when you're on stage. People want to connect with you. The audience want to know who you are as a person and to understand your ideas. And in order to do that, we have to get out of our heads and we have to get into our soul, into our heart of what we really truly want to say. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So let's get into it, and I'll go through my prepared slides. So the problem with commercial communication right now is that it often leads in this common formula. From what I've seen from my decade plus of experience, often we're taught to lead with credentials of how good the company is, what we've achieved, how long we've been in business. And for a speaker, it might just be the clients they've worked with, the awards they've won, maybe they have published a best-selling book. We almost feel like we need to justify ourselves, our credentials, before we step on stage to say that we've earned the right to be here. And we don't need to do that. If you've earned the stage, you've earned the right to share your story, to share your ideas. And there's this thing called the speaker effect. When you step on a stage, you're already positioned as an expert. So you don't need to do anything to justify your expertise or to prove your worth on stage. And it's a trap that often I see speakers fall into. Then you have D, which is the data dumping. Often I see business presentations, sales presentations over-explain their product, their USP, what they're trying to get across, just making it too complicated for the audience to understand. And then a lot of the time in business, we use logic over emotion in terms of persuasion, in terms of marketing copy, in terms of talking about conversion or using corporate jargon to get our points across. And this can break the human connection between people, because at the end of the day, whilst we are logical, we're also emotional human beings, and we're not Vulcan. We are human, and that's what makes us human beings. And then there's this disconnect because of that, and these steps, that's what happens. The audience disconnects from those messaging, from that communication, and we wonder why that our ideas haven't landed. Obviously, one of the things I have seen many times is the speaker will open after the intro slide with an about me. And this is at the critical time when a presentation starts. You've got the first 5 minutes, and then you've got to try and capture the audience attention and make that emotional connection with them. And people open with the about me slide. They tell everyone what they've achieved. They tell everyone the clients they've worked with, the awards they've won. And for me, it can be a real deal breaker in terms of watching the audience switch off. And I don't know about you, but I think it can definitely be a hindrance to actually getting the audience to connect with your story and your ideas when you start with this slide. And of course, public speaking brings out a lot of imposter syndrome, and also people get nervous, and it's a normal, natural thing. And I'm here to tell you that everyone feels nervous. And I've worked with speakers at all levels, from first-time speaker all the way to the pro level. And even the pros say when they step on stage, they still get the butterflies, they still get the nerves. So through practice, through repetition, it's a learned skill, and it's something that you need to keep doing. And over time, you build that. And you don't get taught to how to be a public speaker in school. And it's not something that comes natural to everyone. And of course, I can share with you in my own career, I've faced doubt, fear, and imposter syndrome so many times. Even doing this video here on YouTube, there's some imposter syndrome about wanting to share this with you and to make it perfect and get over the perfectionism. And I'm here to tell you that that's okay. When you step on the stage, it often does bring out, but that's a good thing, because my mentor, Christo, you may know him from the future, he always says what makes you interesting, complex, unique, it's not your superpower in his opinion, it's your vulnerabilities, it's your character flaws, that when you embrace them, that's your real superpower. Just like the X-Men, they are mutants, but their powers that they have, their abilities, that's what makes them unique. And embracing that, embracing what makes you different, embracing your character flaws is a powerful thing when you get on stage. You're allowed to be human. You're allowed to be you. And Brené Brown put it best herself when she said, staying vulnerable is the risk we have to take if we want to experience connection. And that's key. We allow ourselves to be vulnerable on stage, but it opens up other people to share their story with us and resonate to what we're talking about. So how do you feel right now about presenting on stage? Does it make you feel nervous? Does it bring anxiety? Do you want to crawl up in a ball and run away? For me, I had many of those feelings before I stepped on stage. Overwhelming anxiety, feeling sick. But I'm, again, here to tell you that there's a better way to feel confident on stage. And it's not just about practicing public speaking, and it's not just about getting a perfect performance on stage. Because this idea of performative versus connection, we've got the idea of telling people what we think we want to hear, coming from our own ego, from our own thought process and our experience, but then letting the audience naturally connect with us, letting them naturally consider our ideas, thinking that we want to impress them and that we need to say what we need to say so they feel that we're the expert, or getting the audience to be guided through your journey and connect with you through your story and your experiences, and then leading with our own expertise and knowledge, and leading with vulnerability and honesty in terms of what you know. And the reason why stories are really important is that 63% of people remember stories versus 5% for statistics alone. That's according to a Stanford study on storytelling. And people are 22 times more likely to remember a story-based statistic when it's included with a story. And the reason why that is that we're wired for stories. We use storytelling for evolution. We would pass on our genes, but we'd also pass on our memories through stories about what plants to eat, what things to avoid. It's part of human evolution, and that's why our brains are so wired to connect. And we tell stories every day in our lives when we share our experiences with others. And I feel if you act only as the expert and you disconnect, and if you speak from real experience, that's when people lean in. There is a disconnect if you just lead as the expert throughout your entire presentation. We have to give the audience some moments where they can connect with us on a deeper level than just the expert. And again, to connect with the idea of storytelling, Brandon Sanderson, best-selling fantasy author, said, the purpose of a storyteller is not to tell you how to think, but to give you questions to think upon. And I think I love this quote because, again, we want the audience to question our ideas and not just to tell them how we think something works or what we've experienced. We want to invite them into our ideas and our journey. And of course, I see this often, that most speakers focus on the what they say and not how people feel. And that is why I've created my own method, my own framework that I developed from 13 plus years of experience designing presentations, called the Heart Method. And this is your typical presentation structure. It's called the 3-act story structure. There's a beginning, middle, and an end. And this is typical for a 30-minute talk, where you start with your opener, then you have your middle of your story in helping the audience to understand, engaging them with a hypothetical question, and at the end, giving them something to think about, how they should feel and what steps should they take next. You can see this typical structure in many storytelling in movies, films, and books. And it applies very much to presentations, but there's a better way to do this to connect with the audience. And I've refined this somewhat to have this idea of beginning, struggle, and transformation. So in your own journey, there is this humble beginning. That's the start. Where did it begin? The struggle, the messy middle, and this is how the sauce was made. And often we don't talk about this enough. Like, how did you get to this point in your journey? it didn't just happen overnight. So many times in social media or in the business world, we like to see the end result. Oh, I've got here. I became a best-selling author. I'm successful. I've built a six-figure business. Great. But I'm really interested in what happened in the middle. How did you overcome those challenges to get to that point? And the transformation of your own journey. And it doesn't have to be around success, but everyone here who's listening to this video has learned something in their life that they can help others. So how's it transformed you? How's it helped you in your own journey? What have you learned? And share that with others. I wanted to talk to you quickly about my method called the Heart Method. And it's really simple to follow, but I believe if you speak from the heart, the head will listen. So many times we're often too much in our head, overthinking. And this is coming from somebody who's a massive overthinker in myself. Sometimes I'm too much in my head and I have to come down from that and speak from the heart. And that's where you feel the groundedness, the clarity, and the confidence to deliver your message. And as I said before, it's a two-way connection between you and them, and you have to open yourself up to the audience to let them in. So the Heart Method is really simple. This is my framework for deeper connection in presentations. The first step is to honor your audience, identify what they care about, not just about what you want to say. E, make an emotional connection with them, connect to the values and experiences, not just inform them about what you know and what you've learned. Authentic speech, speak in your tone, your true grounded voice, not try to be another speaker. I hear often from the people I work with, I want to be the next Tony Robbins, I want to be the next Brené Brown, but you can't be those people. You can only be you. So don't use corporate jargon, corporate speak. Speak in a voice that feels confident to you, feels natural to you, and reveal through storytelling. Structure the narratives and show transformation. Use storytelling frameworks. Use my Heart Method. Use the classic 3-act structure to reveal your story as you take the audience through your journey. And T, transform with takeaways. Provide actionable insights that they can use. What should the audience do next after the end of your presentation? So here's 3 questions that you could ask yourself before designing your presentation that could put the focus back on the audience. What keeps them awake at 3 a.m.? What would make their Monday morning feel different to them? And how can you help them move forward in their life or journey? These are 3 simple questions that you can use to really hone in on what you want to say and help the audience to learn. And Henry David Thoreau said it best. He said, the only way to speak the truth is to speak lovingly. And through my Heart Method, I've changed this to say, the only way to speak the truth is to speak from the heart. And I think more of us need to do that in this modern world. And maybe you've got something inside yourself where you're sat on a mountain of gold like Smaug under the misty mountaintops from The Hobbit. And you have all this wealth of experience, all this knowledge that you've collected, all this wisdom through your life. Are you Smaug under the mountain hoarding your gold? My friend once asked me, are you sat on a mountain of gold? And what wisdom, what insights can you help? What gold do you know that can help somebody to move forward in their life? And as I said before, the question for you, are you sat on a mountain of gold? Think about that. What do you know that can help somebody move forward in their journey? So my key takeaways from this video is people remember how you made them feel long after you've spoken. Don't lead with credentials only. Sure, they matter in some cases when we're pitching, but introduce a story early. Allow people to connect to you as a human being. Make your journey part of your story. People want to hear about the messy middle. They want to know how the secret sauce is made. And they want to know about what obstacles and challenges you overcame to get to where you are. So it's your turn now. Over to you to give this method a go and let me know what you think. If you're interested in more about what I do, I also offer some products and templates and guides, and you can grab my storytelling guide around the Heart Method on Gumroad at ilyapresents.gumroad.com. And there's a link in the description. If you're ready to learn and speak from the heart, I'm offering some calls as well that you can book with me, and I'm happy to look at any presentations that you're doing or maybe review a script that you've worked on and just give you some honest feedback about what you're doing with your presentations and how you feel about your public speaking. I'd love to hear from you. And that's it for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I will see you again for the next one. Take care.